Okay, everybody, welcome back. I'm back with a brand new panel. And as all of you know, the subject of conversation is going to be market behavior and trends in India. And I was just sitting here and thinking that we're having a very unique moment in time. And most organizations, especially startups and new businesses, to my mind, they're making the most of it to really rethink their go to market plans. And most of us are also experiencing great success over there. Talking about digital avenues that are increasing and exploding, it's time for marketers to really get more and more involved with the customer or just get left behind. And clearly, that's not our plan. So if you're tuned into this discussion, there are very high chances that you can use the insights we have here to really stay out and to stay ahead of all the noise. Because joining me in this conversation are three very distinct individuals with very distinct experiences. We have a streetcar racer turned hotelier, now social media marketer and founder of Internet Moguls, who basically serve the planet's top brands with his army of 225 moguls. He's also the president of DMA, and he runs the Ask Avijit Arya University online and trains on MVM, the Micro Video Mastery Program. He's named amongst the top 25 influencers by Influensive, ranked as one of the top 100 digital icons of the region by Impact magazine, and credited to create $100 million revenues for his client. Avi Arya is in the house. Hi, Avi. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
And we're also joined by someone who moved from being a financial analyst to making waves in the marketing world at a small but a growing digital marketing agency. And he was in fact heading the North India division at a very, very early age of 23. And back in 2015, he joined hands with Harshil Karya and Sohil Karya to form Shebang. And what can I say? He went on to work with so many domestic and international brands with a team of over 300 and more very, very talented minds. But that's just about what he does. He's a recipient of the Social Samosa 30 Under 30 Award 2018. He made it to Impact Magazine 30 Under 30 2019 and has also been featured in the top 50 content marketing professionals in India's list, which which was recently featured in LinkedIn India's top startups list 2018. Akshay Gurnani. Hey, Akshay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us here.
Absolutely.
Good to have you here. And joining this very happy and smiling panel is someone who's had such an eclectic career, from being the CEO of Kings 11 Punjab to being the Chief Operating Officer of Radio Today Broadcasting, launching India's first FM network for women only. He holds a very rich and diverse experience that all of us today are going to truly learn from. He's the co-founder of RadioWala.in. He's the CEO of Mediawala Inc. and Sochcast platform for a woman's voice. Of course, a TEDx speaker. We've all seen him with over 400 talks in the past 6 years. He's a professional MC with over 500 shows, a radio RJ since he was 7, with a long-standing late-night talk show since 2002 to date, called Between the Sheets. He's voted top 10 love gurus of the world by IBM Live. He's the voice of sensuality and intrigue. He's graced our panel, but here he is, Anil Srivatsa. Hey, Anil.
It's good to be here. Thanks.
Okay, so I am going to straight off begin this conversation by asking, Anil, let's begin with you. What really made you decide, or what really propelled you to be where you are today professionally?
Well, who loves a woman more than a man? And I just followed that, and I do like them. And I think if I can be an ally in their sangharsh, and unfortunately there is a sangharsh, I figured, why not make that a thing? It's half the population, so I'm not in the niche market here. I'm actually in 50% of it. But otherwise, it's just entertainment and media, Xenia. That's been my entire career, right, from day one. So IPL is also entertainment. So it's not media, but it's an entertainment event. So it's essentially, people will ask me, what is your background in cricket? I said, why do I need a background in cricket? It's just another product. And it's business. But where I am today with Sochcast is the same thing. So when I launched Meow, which was the FM network for women by India Today, they obviously didn't quite believe in the idea. So now in this pandemic, podcasting, which I've called Sochcasting, which is an Make in India word, your thoughts when it reaches your mouth is nothing but broadcasting your thoughts. So it's Sochcasting. And creating a voice, not creating, but creating a platform for women to say whatever they want, uncensored, unedited. How will that help? It could help them personally. It could help them as a group. It could help men listening in to better understand the other half of the world they live in with, it's just content, So I believe this pandemic has created podcasting as a thing in India. Obviously, it's not new to the world, but in India, that has now, because you work at home and you need something that's not taking your visual attention away, but you still want to hear something and still work. I think nothing better than audio to do that, and video. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's found more of a mind space or a pie of the market now in these times. So Sochcast is my newest baby. It's just about a month old. And thinking of Avi and Akshay, a guy like me needs you guys. So please, I need help.
Awesome.
Okay, so, Anil's taken us very briefly through his journey and telling us what he does and why he does it. And he spoke about Sochcast and the whole podcasting scenario in India. I think, Avi, you tell us, give us the video mastery angle to this now. And why is it that you do what you do?
Okay. So if you'd asked me this question 2 years or earlier, I would have been found clueless. But now I think I have a story that I can tell you. So on the 29th of October, I'm going to be 44. But the brief story that I'm going to tell you as I take you into flashback is when I was 18 years old. At the age of 18, all I wanted to do in life was to race streetcars. My dad used to go to sleep. I used to steal the car keys, race with people. And I thought one day I'll go abroad, study car racing and become a race car driver. I had dreams and I wanted to work hard towards them. But one day in my life, Xenia, everything changed. My dad called me to his office, and I remember as if it happened yesterday. There was a red carpet on a wooden floor. There were these 2 landline phones off the hook. I knew there was a serious conversation coming. My dad said, had a bit of a setback in business. I don't think I can send you abroad. Join my business from tomorrow morning. That's the only option you have. Everything changed, big dreams, going abroad, all of that. Anyways, next morning, I found myself behind the reception of my dad's small motel. 27 rooms, nothing much to write home about. But I knew he was working hard and his customers loved him. I wanted to find my own feet and my own place under the sun. One day, an international tourist walked in. He paid us in Dutch guilders, which was pre-euro currency for Netherlands. We converted the money into Indian rupees. It turned out to be multiple Indian rupees. And I'm like, if you have foreign guests versus Indian guests, you get a better room rate. Now I'm thinking in my head how to make all 27 rooms into international, paying guests. Now, this was back in the late 90s. How do you connect a small motel to people all over the world? During that time, there was a new phenomenon on the market called the internet. It was a service that allowed you to speak to people in different parts of the world. However, in India, in Delhi, there were only 2 places, the British School Library and the Sheraton Hotel. Both of them had very expensive internet for half an hour. So I couldn't access that frequently. After 6 months, I saw an ad in the paper, Satyam Computers looking for cyber cafe partners. Contact Rohit. I was one of the first people to contact him. And in the next few months, we got a cyber cafe. Now, Xenia, I had 24-hour access to the slowest internet on the planet. I used to open one website in the morning, afternoon, maybe the second page and the third page But I was able to connect with people all over the world. They guided me what to do. Somebody said do a website. Somebody said do SEO. I didn't know anything about it. I learned. I did certain things. Most of them failed. Some of those things did well. Finally, I found queries coming into my website. The first time I'm electronically communicating with another human being from another part of the world. The communication went for about 3.5, 4 months, somewhere around December. I picked them. I went to the airport, still skeptical. I don't know if there's going to be a human on the other side showing up. They came in, picked them up from the airport, got them in my car, got them, checked them into the room. They paid me $350, and I was like, this is it. I understood that this system works. After that, there was no looking back. I made multiple websites. We were one of the first ever budget hotel websites in the country to go live. It was not called a startup. I didn't know what I was doing. My first book, which I wrote, was called The Accidental First Mover, because I had no clue what I was doing. But we were at least 5 years ahead of the industry, because no Google, no Facebook, no TripAdvisor was in India. So that was journey one of my life. I started an online travel company. I just started writing about travel. One day I got a call from a company called Yatra, and then subsequently another well-known company called Make My Trip. They called and said, we love the traffic on your website. Can we do an affiliate deal with you? I didn't want to sound like a fool on the phone. I said, I had no idea. I didn't want to tell them I don't know what an affiliate means. So I said, can you send me an email and I'll get back to you. They told me they'll give me an X amount of money for every conversion that comes through my site. I need to put a code on my website. I did all of that. We started booking some 40, 50, 60 tickets a day, which was huge revenue, about $1,000 a day revenue back in the early 2000s. That was my second stint and second exposure to internet marketing. It was still not called digital marketing then. Finally, I thought a lot of people started asking me. TripAdvisor came to India. All these big brands wanted me to speak on stage and tell people around the country that for small and medium-sized businesses should adopt the internet. While I'm doing that, people are saying, can you help us? Can you help us? So in 2009, finally, I started a digital marketing agency called Internet Moguls with a 4-member team, completely bootstrapped, no funding, no help from outside. Grew it to a team of 200 people. Everything is going well in my journey so far, except when I started teaching people about how they can do what I started doing. I was represented by a very famous agency. I started getting speaking opportunities. And when I'm speaking to people, my central message was, the shortest distance between two human hearts is always a story. Tell people the right story and they will connect with you and your brand. And because the internet is a space of millions of strangers who can become friends and customers, your introduction I call it the hero introduction, which I tell everybody to put in the beginning and at the end of every video, went like this. My name is Avijit Arya, father of 2 girls, 6 dogs, husband to a superwoman, a streetcar racer turned hotelier, now social media marketer and founder of Internet Moguls. Essentially, in those 10 seconds, I tell my entire story of who I was, what are my hobbies, what is my priorities, and all of that. While I'm repeating this story multiple times and people are loving this story, hero introduction of mine, I'm thinking to myself, hey, where is my time with my wife? Where's my time with my 2 girls? Where's my time with my 6 dogs? Where is all of that? My business is taking precedence. I was becoming the father that I never thought I would become. So I had to sort of introspect, and then we made Zoom rooms in our office. We were told every client of ours will give you 10% off. Don't call people for meetings. Don't call our teams. Let them go home. Let them save 2 hours every day, 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month, 500 hours a year. Maybe if working with me or in the digital marketing space with your endeavor, they'll be able to save at least 1 year away from just traffic. And that time can be spent with their families. Some clients agreed, most did not. But that's how my journey of telling people to do everything on video started. Reach out to people through videos, do sales through videos, do operations through videos, do deliveries through videos, webinars, where you can sell to hundreds of people. And I was very, very partly successful till the pandemic happened. When the pandemic happened, everybody said, we want to do videos. So you asked me a short question. Sorry for taking such a long time, but I wanted to set the context of where I'm coming from and where I needed videos to be able to do what I wanted to do and have a happy, balanced life. And that's why my message is 3 videos a day, 15 a week, 60 a month. You have the power to change your own life using just your smartphone and a good internet connection.
That is incredible. Point noted, by the way, a good internet connection. But Akshay, at 23, you were heading the digital marketing division. Do you remember why you're so good at marketing, or do you have no idea how it happened?
Honestly, like back in college, I was the only kid who did both finance and marketing because I loved finance. I loved numbers. I loved, reading balance sheets and doing mental maths as a passion. But I think my faculty, my teachers back in college kept telling me that you're better at marketing, so give that a shot, But still, like I was at the age of 21. This is like like 10 years back. They were like, try both because somewhere the finance is going to always help you in life because I've always aspired to be an entrepreneur. Like I've always come from a family of entrepreneurs, so for me, like numbers have been always something which I was passionate about. But I think somewhere marketing came much more naturally to me when it came to coming up with ideas or understanding how marketing or communication works overall. So I was one of those kids who tried doing everything, who tried doing a bit of marketing and finance. But when I actually took up a job as an analyst, I think I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And that sort of gave me the push saying, okay, now it's time to switch into marketing because that's maybe where my natural gravitation sort of goes towards. But this again back in 2010, where there was no digital marketing per se. It was more of social media marketing. So we used to do a lot of SMM, as we call it. So it was more of such a Facebook content, tweets. Those were like in the entire spectrum of what we used to do. But I think I was at the right place at the right time. So again, because I began my career right when social media marketing was still being adopted by many brands and many companies, I think I grew along with the industry overall. So within 3 years, I had a team of about 60 people. I moved to Delhi. I was handling again large P&Ls over there, and I think because many clients did not understand digital themselves, so for them to be educated was very, very important. So even though I was young and I didn't have much of a beard, they took you seriously because you understood the platform, you understood the content, you understood storytelling. And I think that's where the respect sort of grew. And then, about 5 years ago is when I moved back to Bombay and I joined my two partners, Harshal and Soya, and we started Shebang. And I think the past 5 years have been quite an exciting journey for us because I think the overall adoption of digital has become a lot more. And I think especially during COVID now, digital has only boomed more because it's much more cheaper when it comes to content creation. The media buying is much more efficient in that sense. So I think it's always been like a great place at a great time, and we've tried to make the most of the opportunities that have come our way. So yeah, now we have a team of about 350 people across Mumbai and Bangalore, and the team's growing substantially. And I think it's only because of the way the industry and the adoption of digital has sort of helped us sort of propel us into this kind of a space. Yeah.
So fantastic. So talking about digital, I'm thinking that there's a debate that Facebook is speaking. Instagram is such a hit with kids and teenagers. Chatbots are dominating, CS, and video is no longer an option. Now,
Yeah.
Anil, you've seen this entire journey, right? Offline to online. What are your thoughts about how digital and how technology and digitization has, really affected the marketing ecosystem?
Well, when Akshay started his thing, I think he was in the right place at the right time because not many people knew about it. And now everybody knows about it. Everybody is doing so much there that it's become one cluttered space. Again, you're trying to push your way through and say, hey, look at me, hey, look at me, hey, look at me. And there's so much to look at: video, audio, images. In fact, I've gone backwards. So the reason I'm sitting in a car right now is, yes, I'm doing something that is not commercial. I'm driving around the world telling people about organ donation. The first question people would ask me is, why don't you just sit at home and do it online? And here I am trying to meet people face to face. My goal is to meet 1 million people face to face and tell them about my story of being a kidney donor and what it takes. But I can't do the same thing online because they're not going to spend enough time on it. It's not going to sink in because they attention to, well, they don't have that much attention for each. Sometimes they say 30 seconds is too much. Sometimes it's 3 minutes is too little. So there's so much clutter there. I think this is going the other extreme, not to take away any business. I am in the digital space from my commercial side with Sochcast. But marketing from that standpoint, I think getting to people, and I like what Avi said, is about telling stories. Now, stories can be told face to face. This is where storytelling began, is communicating face to face. Now, are you able to now get to the offline space again? And there is no clutter there anymore. The clutter is online. So it's got to be a nice halfway point somewhere in the future. But to me, I've found going offline to be a lot more effective. Yes, it can't scale as much, but once you speak to enough people offline, maybe they'll help you and become your champions and your ambassadors online, which will give a lot more exposure to the one thing. Otherwise, if me as a brand just keeps saying the same thing over and over again, it's going to hit a blind spot. They're like, there's more of this. So I don't know, Akshay and Avi, how you feel and where things are with that, but I find a lot of blind spots happening. I take out digital ads, I spend money on it. At some point, it just flattens out. And how often should you do it? Those are things that I guess it's all data driven. Maybe you guys have the data. That's why I said I need your help.
That's a very fresh perspective, and I completely understand, Anil, where you come from in terms of going back, to the traditional route of meeting face to face and the power of, live storytelling. But now, if you look at the other side of the business, 72% of all new and existing organizations really believe that video content has something that's improved their conversion rates drastically in 2020. So Avi, can you tell us about the power of video in the marketing ecosystem and what's been your experience?
See, in my story I mentioned, I went to I did my my graduation from Delhi, and then I did a distance learning marketing MBA because my grandfather's literally his last words before he died was, I need to do my MBA. So just as an emotional person, I still wear his kada that he used to wear. I took it off his body when he died, made a promise to him. So that's my education, international, I did my international business from University of Strathclyde, distance learning with no inclination to learn anything, just wanted that degree. So that's my education. I wish I had done my finance like Akshay had done it and all of that. So I just wanted to set that context. So in terms of studying, when was the right time to study, I was not studying. So therefore, my perspective to all of this comes from a very deep sense of understanding human behavior. I just understand, they say in the Gita, Swayam ko pehchano. So that's what I tell my clients as well. Who are you? And everybody says a different thing about themselves. And the painstaking process of trying to explain to a client who you are, they want you to understand who they are without them knowing who they are. And this is the world, in the client relationship world, in your, in relationships, spouses, friends, that's the house. We're all, I don't want to get into the spiritual side of it, but that's how we are. We look at ourselves from a lens we are wearing. We want others to look at us from something that we feel is what we are. So this is how this world is today. Now, in that world, to be able to go and connect with people, I totally agree that there is nothing like sitting down with somebody and putting your hand on somebody's shoulder and saying, I understand. I understand where you're coming from, and it's not easy. And I'm really sorry for your loss, or I'm very sorry that you woke up in the morning and you feel extremely anxious, because some people are going through all of that anxiety and all of that. There is nothing that can beat that. However, A, in the absence of that, B, to be able to amplify your message of love and hope and empathy and marketing and business, and because business is help, that's the biggest form of seva. You're helping somebody to get from one point to the other. Videos allow you to amplify it by millions of X, depending on how much budget you have, kind of marketing you can do. So I always say that if you have a message in your heart, or if you have a product or a service that can go and make a difference in somebody's life, then you, my dear friend, may be doing a disservice to yourself and your brand by not using videos to promote and amplify that brand today, when it's still extremely affordable. So, that's my take on, why videos. It helps you amplify your message. It is so damn inexpensive. Most people, ROI क्या मिलेगा? अरे boss, करके तो देखो. Like it's like before going to the gym, you're like, okay, what will happen if I go to the gym? What if I have, as I'm growing older, maybe, my kids say, maybe you're getting a little impatient. And I say, okay, then
Yes.
forget it. Let's not do it. I totally agree. I think you're right. Let's not do it. Let's have a nice cup of coffee. I'm out of here.
So we have a
Akshay
great
still got a long
perspective.
way to go. Akshay, you need 20 years of more patience before you can say that.
Yeah, and a lot more video content before I get 20 years wiser from here. No, but
Maybe
actually,
then by that time you'll be Captain Spock. You'll have a machine and you go into your clients. You'll be able to send your clients ad to somebody with the holograms and saying, "Here, buy my product."
Transporter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's hear it from him then. And Akshay, I have a very specific question here.
Yeah.
That this year has been sideways, right, for the entire world. COVID has had such a huge impact on revenues. So,
Yeah.
in your experience, what's the kind of content brands are investing in during and post COVID now to deliver better impact?
Sure. You know, before COVID actually struck, a lot of brands were spending a lot of money on video content and on high production in video content. And I think exactly what Avi is saying is, today the barrier to entry for video content is so low, right? It is a smartphone, it is a Zoom call, for example. The kind of content that, most brands have actually started investing in the past 6 months are all done through webcams, all done through smartphones, all done through simple DSLR cameras, which cost 20,000 rupees. Again, what we as an agency are trying to do is find a solution for the clients so they can invest in whatever they're comfortable with. See, we will
Right.
not go back with a solution saying, let's do a 20 lakh film when the client is saying my budget is 1 lakh, right? So I think from our perspective, what we try to do is reinvent the way we approach the client briefs, and try to understand what are the pain points, right? And the pain point need not just be a business goal, it could also be their budget goals, right? Saying, what are you able to spend in this time? Because you can't go mum. On digital, for example, you cannot stop communicating, right? The
Right.
moment you stop communicating, I mean, people start wondering, saying, oh yeah, brand is shutting down, sentiments start going for a toss, and we work with large brands, right? So I think from our perspective, we try to focus on things which add value to them. So again, be it budget-led content from video perspective, or also creating a lot of content for e-commerce. Again, the question that we keep getting asked from brands is saying ROI batao. What is the value that you're adding to my roster? How are you driving business for me, right? So again, a lot of investment going into e-com led content. So like doing all of the brand stores, for example, doing the A plus listings, but essentially driving sales for them, through the bottom of the funnel. I think again, brands have stopped spending too much on the awareness. The top of funnel becomes slightly more expensive for them. So again, the focus is driven more towards conversion-led communication, and seeing how we can actually get consumers to buy. But again, without being too pushy, because again, it's something which I read recently, like, instead of saying share of voice, now it's become share of empathy. So how can you really empathize with your customers by, again, telling stories, by, being a part of the consideration, by being there when they're searching for a solution, but not being too pushy, very importantly. So I think it all comes down to how we communicate that. But yeah, looking at ways in which we can do it in a more simpler, cost-effective manner.
Yeah. Nice.
That's fantastic. Okay, I just want to do a quick check. Have we lost Anil on this call? Because I can't see him anymore. Oh, there
No,
he
I'm
is.
here. I can hear you.
Okay, great, Anil. Sorry, I couldn't see you. So, Anil, just as an extension to this conversation, wanted to quickly understand what has changed for you as vis-a-vis marketing in 2020, and I'm especially talking about the pre, during, and now slowly moving into the post-pandemic phase.
Well, for the last 10 years, I've been running a B2B platform. So the marketing there has been quite targeted and specific to retailers. But now with Sochcast, it's like I've been in Umar Kaid in the jail and I've come out to a new life 25 years later, and I'm saying, oh my God, what's going on here? So Sochcast is in the consumer internet space. And you're right, Akshay, when we launched like a month ago, there was a lot of activity online, and I could see the daily active users kind of growing. And then as an experiment, I just stopped doing it because we have other things to sort out in the company. Of course, our content production, because we're a content creation and production company, audio content. So that we continue to do, but on the platform, we haven't really spent much time, and you see that dropping already because there's not much activity.
Yeah.
So although I understand the theory, like Avi, I'm a little older than he is, and I have less patience, which is why I look towards Akshay, and your age group, because we're trying to target women of that age group to be able to have a voice and come out and say their stories and tell their stories. So I'm learning that there are different ways of doing things now. And at least I have the good sense to understand that if it's way over my patient's level, there are people out there that can help you grow the idea, because it's not a bad idea. It's just that you need to expand your team a little bit and be able to trust them and not try and do everything yourself and become the lala of the company. So it is prudent to start setting aside a budget within your means, and as you grow, and it's consumer internet, so we need to have that marketing. So when I try and raise some money now for this product, a big portion, I think 60 to 70% of that fundraise is going towards marketing, because that is key at this point. And because of that clutter, you need to be in front of their face over and over again until it becomes internal and habitual to come into the space. YouTube doesn't have to market anymore that aggressively. It's now become part of everyone's internalized knowledge of that's where to go to for certain things. So it's, I think staying in front of people's faces, and you're right, videos are a great way to promote audio. That's the irony of the whole thing. And vice versa, actually, even audio sometimes, because storytelling is the heart and soul of all of this. And if you connect, regardless of how you tell your story and what medium you use, you could get to where you need to. And yeah, so I'm, just the song that आपके ज़माने के नहीं, मेरे बाप के ज़माने का गाना जो है, कल के अंधेरों से निकल के मैं आंखें मलते मलते, जिंदगी फूल ही फूल बहार है, अब तय कर लिया कि डिजिटल मार्केटिंग करना है. बात तो ऐसी है.
Nice.
Well, I am a new podcaster on the blog, Anil.
It's Sochcaster.
It's Sochcaster. Okay.
Make in India.
Yeah. And,
podcast means nothing. The word podcast means nothing.
Agreed. Yes. And I'm literally, there's so much food for thought right now. My mind's going in 100 different places. So, Akshay, I'm going to direct this next question to you. 2020, COVID-19 happened. Do you think the consumer we're talking to, right, the people we're talking to, has changed?
Yeah. I think the people themselves haven't changed, but the way they now start, consuming content, to start behaving online has changed considerably. I was reading again something called revenge buying. It's basically people haven't spent money in the past 3 or 4 months. Now they want to spend on things which they can't even afford, right? Because it's like I haven't shopped, right? So especially for salaried guys who've been saving so much money, like, okay, I've just got to go and spend money. But I think from a behavior perspective, we've been seeing that, like we work a lot with Google, for example, to try and understand consumer behavior, especially because I think, again, all storytelling begins by understanding the consumer. So right from seeing the kind of search trends that we've been observing. So, earlier it used to be search terms like near me. So people looking for things near me, now it's become with me. So people are looking for things to do with other people, but online, right? So how can you actually create content which is with me content? So we've been doing like a lot of sessions online with our brands. Say we have a brand called MAC Cosmetics or Bobby Brown. So we do, one-on-one tutorials online for makeup. Or we have a brand called Hobby Ideas, which is part of the Pidilite group. So we do brand, engagement activities for art and craft. So it's become more of, how can we really give people something to do, because I think people have a lot more time at hand now, and they're looking for avenues to actually explore new avenues of, say, passions. It could be learning something. And we see that the edutainment space obviously has been growing exponentially. And I think thanks to technology, also the edtech space has grown a lot. So, we've been working with brands like, who are in the edtech space to actually create content, which is from an education standpoint, not just for children, but it's also for people like us who are looking to upsell and upscale ourselves in new talents, right? So I think from a behavior perspective, people are spending almost 5 to 6 hours on social media nowadays. So it's a great place to catch them. But more importantly, it's what we communicate to them becomes, a bigger challenge for us, because we are communicating 2 or 3 or 4 times a single day, right, for the brand. So I think from a behavior perspective, it's come down to saying, how can we, as I was saying earlier, like how do we empathize with what they're looking for and what they are searching for online, and be a part of the consideration without being too salesy, very importantly. So, yeah.
And Akshay just rightly said, right? We were in a lockdown for a couple of months now, right? Globally and of course India as well. And like you rightly said, there was so much time at hand during lockdown. In fact, I just that the daily watch time for videos quadrupled this particular year, right?
Yeah.
And we've produced as much as 6 times as last year interactive videos as far as compared to traditional videos. So Avi, can you tell us what's the change in online consumer that you've seen during COVID?
I'll speak from personal experience. So, our agency took a big hit because most of our clients are in the hospitality space. So our agency took a big hit the minute this was announced, and I was, I saw it coming. When the news was around, I knew hospitality is going to panic, and they did, and rightfully so. Whatever happened. So I remember the day I shifted my. I used to do a webinar every week, every Monday, one webinar, 52 webinars a year. And on the 1st of January, I put on my social media channel one webinar a week, every Monday, 9 o'clock. And I'll teach you how to use videos to become a better entrepreneur, all of that. So I shifted the office studio, the mic and this webinar setting home. And that day we did our first webinar, and then we did 75 webinars in 75 days, non-stop, with an average of 700 people coming in. And the largest audience I had was 3,200 people who were with me for the entire day. What I learned in all of that was, obviously I had created some online courses, which I was selling every Monday. They flew off the shelf. Like, we sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of online courses because every day they were just selling. At the end of the webinar, I would put in the offer and it would just, it would be like crazy. So we saw that people are home. People are saying, I need to do something. Contrary to what I thought, people will panic and hold back. But here there were thousands of people who were saying, let me do something so that I can come out of it a smarter, more positive. They were experimenting with products and services, number one. Number two, what this pandemic showed me was that people have this innate need to belong. And because they can't belong outside to a BNI, to a roundtable or whatever, because of offline meetings not happening, they wanted to connect on webinars. Do you have a community? Do you have a membership? Do you have a yearly plan? Give it to me. I want to come to your weekly meetings and want to become an MVMer, like we call it. So people wanted to belong to communities. So I'm just putting it in perspective for your audience over here, that I feel a social media brand with a decent following allows you multiple opportunities in life, and every entrepreneur should have a social media clout, if I can call it that. I had 25,000 people on my Instagram. We're now close to 90,000 only because of those 75 webinars. I had an email list of about 80,000 people now, and we added 146,500 people just during those 75 days. Uh, my the, I have a social media community as Facebook group, which is a very tight knit group. We had 5,000 people. Now we have 27,000 people. These are not people who I've bought by ads. These are people, each of them on my Instagram, on my Facebook, all of these people that I'm talking about are real human beings who attended my webinars and listened to me for at least 90 minutes. So they're very deeply connected people. So to answer your question, during the pandemic, I saw these two things. Brand building happened through deep engagement, talking to people for hours. I used to start my webinar in the morning, announce a 90-minute webinar and go on for 4 or 5 hours because people wanted to talk and communicate. So I built a very solid brand because of that, on a personal brand. Then we went to, selling online courses or whatever doing. So my message and the answer to your question is, people want to belong. They still want to, because the world is not opening up the way it was anytime soon. Whatever's happening, it's still going to take at least 2 years. So form a community through videos, form a community through webinars. This relationship that you make right now, while the world is trying to figure out where they are and this transition period, you will build a brand forever. A brand is somebody, like, if, God forbid, there's an event which happens, a flood in some city or whatever, the chief minister flies down to meet people because that's his time to show people I care. This is the time to show people you care. So although whatever's happening in your life, you can still do a webinar and still make videos and connect with people. This time will never come back. I tell everybody, this would be, don't lose a good pandemic just because you're scared or lazy.
Thank you so much, Avi. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're talking to an audience that are potentially entrepreneurs or that have startups or new businesses. So my next question is really directed to all three of you. Could you quickly tell us, a story or a case study of a startup or an SME, including yours, that you've shown, you've been able to handhold and show phenomenal growth through your expertise?
Hmm.
Who
Who wants to go first?
Go for it, Anil. Yours, all yours.
Well, I think if I have to answer that question, it is what I'm doing right now. This T-shirt is part of that. So 6 years ago, I ended up giving my kidney to save my brother. And ever since, if I found purpose in my life, and nothing more life-giving to a dying soul is to find its purpose. And that's what I do now, almost 3 to 4 months in a year. So I found that telling stories face to face, of course, I've used a lot of video. I don't have, and I've spoken to 1 lakh people face to face so far. All right. You think I'd have, Avi, you think I'd have 1 lakh people following me? I don't.
Now you will, because you've created a connection that can't be created just with videos. So
Right.
reciprocal effect will be amazing now.
No, the fact is, at every talk that I give, I tell them, hey, follow me, give us a little hausla bada hamara, ki, it feels nice that people are following you, so we continue doing what we do. And they don't. There's that lethargy. I don't know what triggers them to make them do it. I mean, I'm right in front of you. Come on, do it now. It doesn't happen. So when I leave the hall, you think at least if that had 400 people, you think 200 people would have followed you. They don't.
Right.
And so you start to begin to wonder what triggers that follow. But what I've found is the people who did follow are fully engaged, are fully with you, and they're not, it's better to have 3,000 people that are fully engaged with you than to have 30,000 disinterested people just there.
100%, 100%.
So what does that tell me? That tells me, now I'm going to try and translate that to Sochcast, is I'd love to have, people are saying consumer internet, you need to have like 300 million users. No, even if I had 100,000 users who are coming back 100% of the time, retention is far more valuable to a marketer than having 3 million people that have no loyalty to anything that you put on there, but are just there because of a crowd.
Sure.
So yeah, this gift of life adventure, which is what I'm on currently, which is why I'm in the car. I found that to have a lot more connect, to bring me an engaged user online from an offline situation than to, I did buy ads for this online and nothing to speak home about. I have plenty of videos. I mean, Avi, look, I have a 2-hour documentary, I know maybe too long, that I shot when I drove from Bangalore to Scotland.
Oh, wow.
I know for a fact that any one of you would have enjoyed it. And I will money back guarantee that you would have had at least 6 laughs in there. Right? And it's unscripted. It is what it was. And I still have only 1,000 views on it. So people don't like to share. They tell me, they write a comment saying, hey, this is great. But if you liked it so much, why don't you share the joy with someone else? Not that I'm making money off of it, but they don't. So I'm starting to wonder about, when I'm paying for it, there's so much. When I'm not paying for it, there's not much. So what am I paying for? Is it real?
Right.
So I'm failing to understand that. Maybe you guys can have a legit answer for it because you're in this 24/7, and I'm just getting into it.
No, we can have a separate conversation on this, but I definitely feel that I love paid because I feel I can do anything. I feel like a king. I feel like, God, because when I'm playing, I can do anything. I can reach out to anybody in the world and anybody can see my message, and I can still don't need to leave my home or my office. Obviously the message, the right person, the right customer avatar, the right, what am I sending, what message am I sending to somebody in Scotland today in the morning when it's crazy rain for the last 4 days, versus what am I sending to the guy in Bangalore maybe whose cricket team just lost and they're very depressed. The same, both of them, I want them to become donors, but this guy, it's just his team has just lost, and Scotland, this guy is unhappy, so what am I doing? So a separate messaging, number one. And number two is that in my opinion, when people share, obviously when they're emotionally touched to a very deep extent, and today every channel on the news, on all news on Netflix, everybody's trying to get them to. So I think emotionally we're becoming stronger, so we don't share very easily till you really do something to make me laugh or cry. However, easier option to share is when you say, oh, you know what? I want to show off to my friend that I posted it first. I was the first to see it. So that's sort of the reward that people want from there.
Yeah,
But I love paid.
it
I
should
can
look
put
cool.
my hand in front of
Yeah, it
anyone.
should look cool,
Sorry?
right? Like it's a coolness
Yeah.
factor, right? Like the social gratification of being cool.
And
Yeah.
this is turning out to be a nice brainstorming session. So thank you for that. But I was wondering, as Anil and Avi, as you were speaking, I was thinking Akshay is someone who's, he's working with across sectors and industries who are possibly facing the same questions as all of us are right now. So Akshay, can you tell us one or more critical changes that are happening in digital marketing right now that we must face?
Yeah. I I think, effectiveness of the media money or effectiveness of every penny being spent is one very, very big aspect of what we've been seeing as a question coming up in every meeting that we have with clients, right? So again, back in the day, maybe like a year ago, 2 years back, for us to sell an idea or sell a campaign was very, very simple, right? Because there you could sell the client an idea on vanity, saying I'll get 10,000
Right.
followers, I'll get you so much reach, I'll get you so many impressions. And we would do multiple campaigns a year purely on vanity. I think now the change that has come in is saying that show me effectiveness, right? Show me effectiveness of the dollars being spent, and tell me what is the ROI specifically I'm going to get from that. So I think that is one very, very big change, and I think understandably so, because I think as business partners that we've partnered with the brand, even for us, we need to keep looking at how are we driving the effectiveness for the client. So I think that's one of the biggest changes that we've been seeing on digital. But also from the perspective of we keep talking about how can the brand sell, because I can work with a lot of FMCG or CPG brands, right? So um, the value of actually owned content is become so much more, I think, especially during the COVID time, as compared to just collaborating and making content on a platform which is not even owned by you, right? The importance of having your own website, for example, the
Yeah.
importance of having your own podcast, for example, a Sochcast, not podcast, Sochcast, for example.
Thank you for that.
um, again, their own content piece has become so much more, because eventually in life, you are at the mercy of an algorithm, right? When you're
Right.
working on a platform like an Instagram or on a Facebook, every month, every year, the algorithm keeps working against you. Reach that we used to see was 100% 10 years back is now down to 0.5%, right, on Facebook. So I think what's become more important for us as marketers is that how do you own the content? Because once you create the content which is your own, then the dissemination becomes your call, the way you want to put it out, right? So I think these are two big learnings for me: effectiveness of the media monies and the ownership of your content, which could also be the website in that case. Yeah.
Okay,
And
that's fine.
while you're at this, guys, please go to sochcast.com, listen to all the content, see what you can do, and please pitch to me.
Sure.
100%. Yeah, that's a good call.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so Avi, can you tell us, according to you, what are the most common misconceptions about marketing in 2020? And how do you think we can battle them?
See, like I said, it all comes from facing the truth. You know, Nothing has changed. I'm not downplaying the pandemic. I'm not saying people are not going out of business. I'm not saying people are not selling their homes. I'm not saying companies are not going bankrupt. It is really bad. in a lot of, and when the next quarter results come out, we're actually going to see what's happened in the world. Right now, many companies and countries are isolated, insulated, all of that. So I'm not downplaying it at all. But what I'm saying is the only way to look at the situation is from what's going to happen in the next 5 years. All of this is going to be fine. If you're a large FMCG or a large hospitality chain or a large airline and you have the money, what are you panicking about? This is your time to spend money more on Facebook ads, because when the pandemic happened, the rate of conversion was like I used to sell a $1,000 program, and my cost of conversion used to be 250 rupees, $250, and I was very happy with it. It came down to $40. I
Wow.
mean, like $40, I'm selling $1,000 product. So Facebook had lost Expedia or some other big clients, and so they all everything. So algorithms reset and all of that, and it was sale. It was like, in my head, it was like 80% sale on ads. I bought whatever I could in my capacity, and I still feel bad. Maybe I should have done more. So this is the time. Sale lagi hui hai, boss. Facebook is on sale. Google is on sale. Not only do you, if you have the money, go and buy their stocks because they're all skyrocketing. You see what's happening with Zoom and all of that. But also they skyrocket because the products are doing well. More people are coming into the ecosystem. Go ahead and build, like Akshay said, build your email list, which you're going to own. Build that relationship with your customer. When you come out of COVID with a 500,000 email list or a 1 million email list, and then you've segregated into which are the people who buy this kind of lipstick, or like, because you said, Bobby, your products.
Yeah.
So, or which who's doing what kind of stuff, and you're able to send the right message to the right person. You're 5 years ahead of competition if you spend money today. But the same thing what Warren Buffett says is what happens every time. When there is a crisis, the whole world panics and holds back. There are 2% people, or maybe less, who go ahead and say, I'm going to buy when the whole world is selling. And the same happens with Facebook ads. Buy now, buy your Google, buy your Sochcast, get into podcast. Okay, now it's for all the other people who say, oh, it's very easy to talk to big brands. What about small entrepreneurs? Very good idea. Make a list of the top 100 podcasts in the world which are related to business and entrepreneurship and marketing, related to your field, or Sochcast, sorry. Make a list of the top 100 YouTube channels, write them down, put big chart papers over there, send a personalized video to each and every person. Hey, Akshay, I see you got 200,000 followers on your post. What I love about your thing is the last guest you got Zinia, and she spoke about this, and I really appreciate your message. I'm a father of 2 girls, 6 dogs. This is my passion. This is why we connect. I would love to share my message on your thing. And by the way, I have a following as well. Would love to reciprocate however I can. Takes 5 minutes for one video. You've got 200 videos to make. Maybe you can make 5 a day, and 1.5 months you're done. So if you don't have the budgets, reach out to people. Be on every podcast, that in your niche. Maybe 80% will say no. If you send a nice personalized message, 20% people will say yes. In 3, 4 months, 5 months time, when the whole world starts panicking less, you've already built a brand. I cannot emphasize on the fact that this pandemic will one day be over. Everything will be back, and we'll be like, oh my God, अब कुछ करें, boss. अब everything will be level playing ground. फिर उसके बाद सब difficult हो जाएगा. Right now, people are holding back. This is your time. अभी front foot पे आके 6 मारने का time.
Done, Avi. Wow, that was fantastic. So, we're actually inching towards the close of this panel. Anil, I want to ask you, what is your advice for entrepreneurs, especially startups and SMEs, who want to set off in a direction that's similar to yours?
Similar to mine.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Go with your gut. I'm no MBA like Avi. I've learned what I have from knowing people and understanding people's behavior. And there is what is real, and there is what you want to be real. So if you want to go do something, just find what is wanting to be real, because you create a perception that could also look like reality.
Right.
And if you continue to live in reality, which is where I've lived most of my time, I think you won't do so well. But there is that perception that you need to build, and all of these tools that the online space is now at your fingertips through your phone. Use it wisely, use it well, and better still, find somebody who can do it better than you and have them help you. And don't start becoming stingy, because the more wealth you spread, the more wealth you'll earn. And of course, within your reach and within your means. Now, if one of you guys or both of you win this pitch with me, I would love to spend what I can today. But if we can grow together, I firmly believe that you spread the wealth, it will come back to you. There's no point in holding it. There's no point holding 100% of 100 rupees. Well, I would rather have 7% of 1,000,000 rupees, you know?
Right.
So anyway, so that's really what you guys need to do. Entrepreneurs are so close to it that they become very attached to everything that they have. And I think we need to get more people in, and it may be your idea, it may be your vision, but if you don't share that vision and have other people share it with you, you're always just going to be a small fish. Not that it's a bad thing, but let's just say if you want to grow.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anil. And as we're closing, Akshay, I just wanted you to tell all of our audiences that how can you help startups and SMEs particularly come out to the other side of 2020 with, you know, bigger, better ideas and brands?
Shebang, how can we help brands, you saying?
Yes, yes.
I mean, let's have a conversation. I think
You have 1 minute.
and I think there's no challenge that's too difficult. I think if you apply your mind and you find a solution, I think there's something for everyone. You know, I personally feel that exactly how Avi was saying that, you know, to not spend right now or to not market right now is doing injustice or disservice to yourself. I think very importantly, even if you are not spending money, but take the time to plan, because again, this time is not going to come back. You know, I think this is the best time to plan, build a roadmap for yourself, think of the ideas, again, network with as many people as possible. And I mean, essentially, you know, again, whatever the challenge may be, we can always find a solution that meets your expectations, especially from a budget perspective. Because I think very importantly, people don't want to spend too much right now. So however small or larger budget may be, I mean, let's find a smaller solution for that. But you know, it comes to conversation, and I think it comes to vision. Very importantly, I think when our visions match is somewhere we can really build a lasting relationship together. So to anyone out there is looking for, you know, a digital agency, we're happy to sort of at least have a conversation. It doesn't matter whether it materializes into anything. At least we learn from each other a little bit. You know, I'll learn of a new industry. You learn a bit about digital marketing, if nothing else. But yeah, I think let's have some conversations, if nothing else. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I think if I have to summarize what I've learned from, you know, witnessing this conversation is that things are still moving fast, whether it's digital marketing or traditional. Of course, goes without saying that in 2020, AI, video, voice, interactive, they're all pretty prominent trends. But this is certainly no time for a business to stand still, right? Whether you're in a car, on the road meeting people, or whether you're creating 200 videos in 90 days. I think especially as the younger demographic, the more tech savvy consumers of today want brands and people to connect to them in new and exciting ways. So we just have to figure out what works and when, and just make this journey easier and more enjoyable. So
I'd like
whatever
to
works,
one last thing before we wrap up. For all the marketers who are watching and all the salespeople, entrepreneurs, everybody who's watching, and if we've watched so far, if you watched till the last, there's 1 hour, that means you're interested and there's some pain that you want, you're hoping to get solved. And my message, my parting message is, it should not be just hope. Oh, I got motivated by listening to these people, and that's it. Because tomorrow, two things are going to happen. Your boss, your CEO, or your customer, or your family member is going to ask you, what were you doing when the whole world was down? What were you doing when the chips were down? What were you doing? Were you playing, or were you sitting on the sideline? You will ask yourself this question. People will ask yourself this question. But so this is the problem. How do you solve it? I have, this is what I like to suggest. Nobody changes. It's very difficult for human beings to change. I'm an eternal optimist, but I'm just saying it's difficult to change. So, I don't spend, and all of a sudden after listening to this show, I start spending money and all of that. I'm just saying, अपनी संगत को बदलो. गीता में लिखा है, संगत को बदलो. Go to Facebook, start unfollowing the people who are not serving you, follow only the people who serve you. Do that with Instagram. That is your online sangat. And in your offline world also, start becoming part of communities where people are doing what you intend to do at least. If you think, oh, I intend to do digital and I intend to go to the gym or I intend to become whatever better, Go to places where you can just be a silent spectator and other people are doing it. You cannot go to the gym every day at 6 o'clock in the morning with people who are working out every day and not start working out. So अपनी संगत को बदलो, बाकी सब बदल जाएगा. That's my last parting message.
So to take away from there, we talk about inspired. Okay, so for everyone that are listening, let's not confuse being inspired versus in admiration of. If you're inspired, that means you're inspired to act. Inspiration is a precursor to action. You can't just say I'm inspired and not do anything. At best, if you don't want to do something, then you're in admiration or in awe of that person. But you can't say that you have inspired me unless you act. So you have to act, as Avi says. Go do it. Otherwise, just say great job to people who are doing it.
Yeah, I think I could summarize it in 3 Ds: dream, do, daily. Yeah, that makes sense?
Daily is most important.
Yes. Well, Akshay, Anil, Avi, thank you so much. Bahut dhanyavad. You guys just gave us a wealth of information and you all spoke straight from the heart. And that's exactly what we needed. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Anil. Thanks, Avi. Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Akshay.
Thanks,
We'll be in touch. I'll just connect over LinkedIn. Cheers.
Yes, for sure. I just followed both of us on Instagram also.
Awesome.
Thank you. I get one more.
Awesome.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. Nice to see you.